So I interviewed you and a couple of people from MemberClicks for my last book for ASAE, Talent Generation.
Right.
And speaking of workforce development and multi-generational workplaces, MemberClicks has really valued young people, and you've been extremely successful at not only onboarding and bringing new talent in, but keeping talent. You're a great magnet for that. And so how are you doing it, and how are you leveraging that as a competitive advantage when you look at all the all the associations you serve? I'm sure they're learning from you, but also we're just living in a more competitive environment now. So how are you leveraging that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. Like, I wish I could say that I was super strategic about it, Sarah. I think 90% of my success is just like common sense. The good old-fashioned rules that mom and dad, taught me when I was a kid. And I think a lot of what you're talking about in terms of like, hey, mandating like X number of people under a certain age to be able to participate in the decision-making process, to me, that just speaks to the continued evolution of what people appreciate about diversity, equity, and inclusion, because diversity isn't just about, gender, race, religion, sexual orientation. It's about diversity of thought and social impact and experience, right? And so I think the way we've been able to attract young people is A, we're a technology company, lucky me. But B, I think we've kept, used a good word in a note you sent me, a youthful kind of feeling to MemberClicks. I think that's part of my desire to just stay youthful in my thinking and, engagement. I have 3 young kids, and I don't want to seem like the dated dad who's still out of touch. So I think that's part of it. Also, I think just like going back to those, grounding lessons of like, people are people, they all have good ideas. Like I think your concept about, hey, I think the hierarchy is going to change. You're right. That's not a prediction, that's a fact, as far as I'm concerned. I'm even more excited you're speaking at MC Live, so people will get a lot of value out of it. You see that all throughout society, not just, in associations or chambers or, even in my workforce. You're seeing it in political infrastructure. You're seeing it in how power shift is moving to network versus dollars per se, right? And you're seeing that old guard of hierarchy and structure struggle with like, well, how do we maintain power? And I think as we evolve over the next, 10 years, power will be tougher to maintain, easier to get, and difficult to leverage because it can shift so fast, whereas the barriers before for gaining power are starting to slowly crumble. And that's creating some really interesting dynamics all throughout our society, which we see playing out in the news and in business and, in companies, and also as it'll trickle into the nonprofit community as they represent those interests, right? So I think the way we do it is just have an open mind. We stay really, like, there's 3 things that I know are super important to engaging not just young people, is you got to have a stated commitment to making your culture one that appreciates diversity of thought. You have to be willing to communicate that all the time, emphatically, right? And then over that same period of time, you've got to be willing to collaborate on whether or not you're doing it well, right? And so, I think that's the way we've probably been able to do it well. There's still tons of room for improvement, and the landscape's constantly changing, right? So we have to get better at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you do have a youthful spirit, and I think it's really admirable. It makes it fun, right? And people like fun. Yeah.
I don't want to.
It's
yeah.
Great.
We could probably digress into another hour of like why you should.
Why have fun? Yes.
What about you? I mean, like, all you do all the time is research and look at the way that generations are playing out in the workforce and in associations and the chambers that we serve as well. Like, tell me, like, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think, the associations are struggling with and our chamber partners are struggling with every day as they kind of go out and try and grow their business and their organization and engage their employees and stakeholders?
Right. Well, I mentioned value. Value is a big piece of it. something that I talk about a lot is the fact that your associations are really in business to solve a problem. And I'm surprised how many leaders don't really think of it that way. They think of
Right.
it more as a network or as advocacy. And yes, those things are important. But the real value lies in your ability to solve a problem and to provide a product or service or solution that isn't easily attainable anywhere else. That's consumerism. What can we provide or do that's really meaningful and important and unique, and people can't get it anywhere else? We are it. We are the go-to resource. So there's that value piece. I also think associations and chambers are, again, grappling with that hierarchy. Some are doing pretty good at bringing in young professionals, but they haven't really truly infused them in the culture. And as you were just talking about with diversity and inclusion, I think there's all of a sudden kind of this wake-up call that's happening that, our leadership isn't really representative of our community.
That's right.
And we have to make sure that those who are in power and making decisions on behalf of our organization actually represent the diversity of the community that we serve. And that sounds like it would make complete sense, but I think a lot of organizations have grappled with it. And the other piece, speaking to what you do and with technology, I think there's been a huge move towards technology. There's still room to grow there and to innovate, and we will see constant, rapid innovation in that technology field. However, at the same time, as we've recently been doing research this past year, we're for the first time in quite a while seeing a real outcry among young people saying, hey, what about community? I have no place to go locally. There aren't enough chapter events, or there aren't enough regional events, or everything is reliant on the annual conference and the online platform. And we want more ways to connect. We want that human connection. So I think we'll finally see more of a balance between the tech piece and the in-person community building piece, or at least I'm hopeful that's what we'll see. I think associations have grappled with that balance, but it's so critical.